and today we are going to be discussing the book Rage in Harlem by Chester Himes.
And this book also goes by another title called The Five-Cornered Square. But the movie adaptation that we'll be talking about or comparing it to is also called The Rage in Harlem. A Rage in Harlem.
I don't know why I saw cornbread.
Glad you did.
And then I heard it.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to figure out geometrically what a five-cornered square would look like.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I froze because I was like...
I kept thinking about...
It's the extra one.
It's going a little deep in that.
What is a five?
She's trying it.
Okay, no, wouldn't it be like not a hexagon?
It's a hexagon.
A hexagon. I thought hexagon was six.
No, a pentagon.
Okay. Pentagon, right.
But I think that refers to where everything took place in the neighborhood, like the square.
Yeah, I get that. But like, why would you just
Like
name
the
a
yard.
book that? I mean, that's definitely a pentagon. I don't understand.
Right. You just
Yeah.
need it in the comic book.
Yes.
That needed to be the title.
But they didn't reference it in the book at all, so it's kind of weird. Like
I just,
yeah.
I get stuck for a while trying to analyze how a square could have five corners. Sorry.
Oh.
Anyways, back to the actual book.
Right. I like the book, and I could not read this book. Well, I could read it, but I was on a road trip, so I ended up listening to this book on Audible instead of reading it. And Samuel L. Jackson was the narrator. I don't know if any of you all listened to it.
I listened to it.
But he was so good. Like, you really thought you were listening to a woman's voice. And all that singing, because now it's in my head that I can never get out. If trouble was money, then I'd be a millionaire. Anyway, I thought he was so good.
Well, now I have to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's
Yeah.
just so...
I love his voice.
Incredible.
So I'm kind of mad that I actually read it versus listening to it. Now I'm going to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, you should, because it was very entertaining. Okay, so what did you guys think about the adaptation?
For me, it was too many changes.
Yes!
I couldn't deal.
I agree.
could not deal with it. Way too many changes.
Well, the book is just... Everything flowed perfectly, and then it's like, what? That?
Well, I mean,
sorry.
go ahead.
Well, when I was searching for where to find A Rage in Harlem to watch it, I read the synopsis on that said adopted from. And usually they say like adaptations. So this one was adopted from. So I think they used the original storyline but made those changes because they didn't say it was an adaptation. They said it was adopted from. So maybe that's why, because I was wondering why
You don't
it
think
didn't
that was
really...
a typo in the summary? It should have said
I thought that
adapted.
too, but I was like 1991. Maybe they changed the laws of taking a book to a movie versus what they do now.
Right,
yeah.
So that was one thing that I thought of because I was like, this is not the same.
Right.
And so I was like, well, maybe that's why, because back then it was loose,
Yeah.
adopted versus adapted.
Okay, she does it again.
yeah.
So
strikes again.
I just couldn't believe the amount of stars that was in it. Like, I was having
I love that.
flashback down memory lane because there was so many people in that movie that I haven't seen in a long time.
Right. Or
So
come
I really,
a long way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching all the actors in the movie.
I really missed Gregory Hines. I
I
miss him.
know.
Yeah. But I love his acting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me too.
I thought he was a good actor also.
Yeah.
But I'm really disappointed that Jodie was not dressed up as a woman, which was Gregory Hines' role, Forrest Whitaker's brother.
right.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be dressed up like a woman.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't understand what's happening.
Which is so weird because that would have been perfect
It
for
would have
him.
been
Like, he's so
perfect.
good at doing that.
He would have been perfect. So, and I was disappointed on them not being twins.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
actual brothers. Like, that was...
Yeah.
Oh, I think I missed that they were supposed to be twins.
Yeah, they were supposed to be twins. In the book, it said, they had a weird way of describing them being twins. Like, he just kind of was thinking it and it started, oh, you know, this person has the same face kind of as me. And then they started talking about them
Okay.
being twins.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
didn't
there
realize
weren't
it.
any like other light-skinned actors that looked like Gregory Hines back then that you could be like, oh, they are twins.
True.
And good luck finding one to match Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Well, they were completely...
Y'all gonna leave my post alone. Y'all gonna leave my post
I love
alone.
this character in there, but you can't find nobody else to look like him.
Jackson was the dumbest person on the
He played that
Yes,
so well
he
with like
did.
the dumb stare.
Well, I know
loved
she didn't take my money. She didn't do it. No.
She's a law-abiding woman.
Idiot. Oh my gosh. That was just too funny. So yeah, I wasn't happy with the Jodie modification and then just the end of it. Because the book, you kind of really didn't know whether she was a good person or a bad person.
Not exactly.
But in the movie, she gave them that money, so it was sort of like she turned into this good person. But in the book, when the cops were asking her all those questions, it just seemed like she was coming up with excuse after excuse. And you were like, she's a liar.
Right. You know, it's funny. I hate to admit this, but in the book, when I was reading it, they were saying how his Goldie was saying to Jackson once he found out what was happening. Well, wait a minute. So you're telling me that they put some money in the oven to change it? So, and you believe this? Like, I'm like, wait, I thought it was magic first.
You believed it also?
I thought it was some type. I was like, I don't know what type of story is this.
You
Champagne, I could do it. Girl, go get me some.
I got you, boo.
I honestly thought
I'm
it was
gonna give
some
you
type of
$100 in
magic trick
6
or
minutes.
something. I was like, wait, am I missing something?
Oh, because you're talking about that happened to you in the book because you really didn't understand where the book was
Right,
going.
where they were going
So
with
it could
it
have been
until
like-
he met with Goldie and explained. I was like, oh yeah, who will fall for that dumbness?
You.
I didn't know what was going on.
She thought it was like the Wizard of Oz.
Right now.
Okay.
Who can turn money? Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, who you gonna turn money? But Goldie was so funny in the book. So, man, you believe me? I don't understand. You's a sucker.
But yeah.
You just can't
Really,
help yourself, kid.
I'm sorry, it's always something comes to my head.
But
It's always a song.
Imabelle, for me, I did think she was a criminal completely.
You didn't?
I did. The
Oh.
whole book. But
Yeah.
in the movie, like you said, they made it seem like she had a heart. Like from the beginning, like, no, you said there was no killing, blah, blah, blah. She felt, unlike in the book.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did feel that same way. I was just like, oh, wait.
Right,
She
she
actually
does.
is nice.
Yeah,
she cares.
Does she
I
really
don't
do
remember
love
her
him?
actually supposed to
Right,
care.
she really loved him. Like, I thought, like, yeah, you was the biggest dummy in the world.
Because the movie fleshed out that front story of like
Yes.
the shootout and how she got away.
Exactly.
And so it just made it seem like, you're right, it made it seem like she was a
Right.
good person and
At heart.
Right, and I was
She wasn't.
very upset in the beginning because I was like, okay, this is nothing like the book. I am not going to be happy at all. But then it kind of picked up where the book started.
Yeah.
So I was
Like they
okay.
made
I was
up a
okay.
whole
Yeah, exactly.
front story
Right.
and end story. Because
Right.
they just concluded it in a way that I was
Nah,
not
yeah, I
happy
prefer
with.
the book ending, to be honest.
So, and then even Gravedigger, like, I don't know, I needed him to be, I mean, I guess at the
George?
end of the movie, George Wallace.
I didn't like him as a gravedigger. That's who I
You didn't?
pictured. I did.
Oh no, I loved him
Oh,
as
yeah.
a Gravedigger, but his role was like this laid back person, and in the book they made it seem like he was just like, I'm dropping all charges, I'm not doing all of this. And then, I don't know, it just seemed more prominent in the book.
Right.
And in the movie it was kind of like an afterthought. It's
Exactly.
like-
Yeah, that's
Whether
true.
or not we should use it. It's like somebody said, oh, hey, look, give George a part.
One thing they changed that I didn't like was the dialect between Slim and the fake cop when he busted them for trying to change the money, like the whole setup.
Yeah.
Between him and Jackson. Remember, he made him in the book. He made him feel like, oh no, you're going to jail. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You can get time, sucker, and all this stuff or whatever.
Right.
He was crying on his knees, and I was like,
Oh,
man,
please
man,
don't arrest me,
right,
please, yeah.
And all of this, he was like, I got money. You know, I could pay you. You know, it was too quick, and they didn't have that same dialect between each other. So I don't know. I like the way it was in the book versus the movie.
Yeah.
You know, because they just kind of fast forward through that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There were so many parts that they either modified or fast forward.
Right, and I don't like that.
I just keep thinking back to what Lynn said, and you know, the more we talk this through, it is very clear that it was more like adopted from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is...
Oh God.
But no, it made more sense to me after I had thought about it. Well, after I watched the movie, because I was just like, I don't understand why they don't connect that well. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? I read the little summary to make sure I was selecting the right movie.
Unlike me.
Yeah, well, Rhea. I can always count on you not to select the right movie.
Oh, Rhea. Total 50-year difference, but no big deal.
I just kept thinking, why Sidney Poitier? What's going on?
It's not even in color. You should have asked her to just watch like Lilies of the Field or something.
Right?
Now, I know Lilies of the Field, okay?
I don't know. You know what? I'm not putting anything past you now. And at least if you're gonna watch Raisin and Son, watch the latest version with Puff Daddy.
With Diddy. Yeah, he's puppy back then.
Oh yeah,
you're right. Anyways,
Okay, joke is, guys, they're clowning me because when it came to watching the movie, I watched A Raisin in the Sun.
Instead of A Rage in Harlem. Don't know why.
because they're so similar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe for me, I needed to rewatch that movie for the
solid,
752 second time.
50-year difference, Ray. Yes, I don't understand.
Whatever.
And if you weren't sure, you had how many people to reach out to?
I
get the
was
correct
sure.
answer?
That's what you don't get.
she had no doubt.
No, I mean, A Rage in Harlem title and A Raisin in the Sun sound similar. So I can understand her confusion.
Don't condone the madness.
I'm
Do
just-
not condone.
Yeah, I don't even
You're an
understand.
enabler.
Yes, you are. You're an enabler.
Read between the W.
I was being sarcastic.
You're not funny.
They all have the R's, right?
Oh,
is that
that's
where you were
what it
going
is.
with?
Yeah.
Okay.
A. You start with the A.
Right.
Hey, yeah. Okay, so
To be honest, I probably typed ARA.
And it just
And it popped up and I
up.
clicked it.
oh yeah, that's it right here. Yeah. Got it.
Sorry.
anyways,
I digress.
any other comments about the movie book adaptation?
A Rage.
All I have is a bunch of differences that I hated. If you would.
Sure, why don't you share about them? You got like 7 pages of notes there.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
pretty much.
Come on, spill that tea.
Okay, so in the book, Jackson didn't want to tell Goldie about the gold. That's funny, Goldie about the gold.
Goldie about to go.
He didn't want to tell him. Like
Right.
he kind of coerced him to like, what is it, man? What's in the trunk? What's in the trunk? In the movie, he got him to help him by telling him about the gold. Didn't
Right.
like that. That was just ruined the movie. I'm sorry. Just ruined it.
But you know, one of the changes that we talked about that we didn't like earlier, I at least like that they kept the man dressed up like a woman.
Right, one of-
like
yeah.
a character
At least
like
character.
that
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
And that was the same character that got the throat slit.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like they kept it sort of with that character. It just wasn't
Wasn't
Goldie.
right.
Wait,
That
no.
was an ugly man. So he made an ugly woman.
Yeah.
The camera in that corner was like, cut. When it came up, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a man. But I knew it was a man, but I was waiting for that, like, I didn't want it to be questionable whether it was a woman or
Right,
not. I wanted,
exactly.
like, in my head, when I was reading the book.
They nailed it.
Exactly, that's exactly what I
Nailed
wanted.
it.
Was this like
Completely.
big butch man in
Right.
like a wig,
Oh.
and so when he came around that corner, I was like, yes. Small
Wait.
victories in life.
So am I confused? Because Big Kathy was the one who played the person's name, the character's name in the movie that played the drag queen, was the one who got her throat slit in the movie, but not in the book.
Right, no,
Yeah,
it was Goldie
It
to
was
go.
Goldie.
But I was saying that they still slit the throat of
Right.
a guy
Of
that
someone.
was dressed like a woman.
Right, gotcha.
But it just wasn't Goldie.
Right. Which I didn't like that either. That was another change.
Yeah. Anything else that you didn't
Add
like?
that to that list.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so I thought the gravedigger cops were the ones who got shot in the raid in the room. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't in the movie. It was the white cops that just happened to pop
Right.
up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't like that either.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. That's it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you pointed them out, but because there was so many
It was
differences
so
that I just
many.
didn't like.
It was
Yeah.
like pointless to
Well, that
change.
just reverts back to the adoption.
Here we go.
Blah, blah. Okay, what do you guys think?
Okay,
about
so we're
that?
gonna get this out the way. Lynn is correct.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Okay. So now about the casting.
What do you guys think about the cast? I love the cast.
I did too.
I was so happy to see all of those old African American actors.
Yeah.
Together
Yeah.
on screen together, like in that
Yes.
same
Yeah.
energy they always put off together. It was
Yes.
awesome.
Reminded me of how I used to feel about watching Harlem Nights.
Harlem Night.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
But I just felt like that watching the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And Wendell in that movie, what's his last name?
Yeah, up here.
Wendell Pierce. It was so funny seeing him so young.
Yes,
young,
it really
yeah.
was.
And also Helen Martin, so young.
Young? I don't think she's ever looked young.
I know.
She came out the womb looking like that.
Her character is hilarious, but I was just
She
like,
really is funny.
why is she like the same age in 2019 that she was in like
Yeah.
1991?
Correct.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Do not understand.
But she plays the funniest character.
She really does.
Her
She really
little
has a
stink
really good
face. Oh,
she has
man.
a good sense of humor because she's been in a lot of spoof type movies too.
Yeah.
And I thought she was really funny.
But I love Forrest Whitaker in Jackson. I didn't picture him as Jackson, but when I saw it in the movie, I was like, that works.
Right.
Can someone explain to me about Danny Glover and the dog?
He had a love affair with this dog. You cannot pay me enough money to kiss a dog in the mouth. I'm just like, ooh.
You can pay me enough.
Put some zeros behind that. I'm just gonna get some Lysol after. I'll be great.
Right.
Keep tagging them zeros.
Right.
Listerine and Lysol.
Paid off for him.
Yeah, but I didn't understand the purpose of his role in the movie with that dog and that whole. I mean, it was just stupid. It was
other
awkward.
than him probably being as popular, but other than that, I don't understand what his purpose was either.
Yeah, it didn't. He just reminded me of CeeLo when he used to carry that animal on The Voice.
Like Mr. like Bigglesworth or something like that.
No, but it was so dumb.
It was dumb.
But yeah, I was just like, this wasn't a great role. It was awkward. Easy Money.
Easy
was his money.
yeah.
Was his name, I mean.
I love the characters though. I mean, although the adaptation was not as well, I really did like seeing all the characters.
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I was sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
Sorry. Just like from book to movie, that part kind of threw me off, but like I enjoyed each separately for what they stand for.
Bam.
Mic drop.
I was pleasantly. I didn't realize it was supposed to be somewhat of a comedy, so I was happy about that when I first got into the book.
Did you think it was like an action movie or?
I don't know what I
book?
thought before, because I didn't read the little synopsis before I read it. Normally I do, and I didn't this time. So I was like, oh, well, this is going to be like shoot 'em up, bang, bang. So I just didn't think the name of it.
She was thinking Harlem Nights.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but that was funny too.
That
in
was
a
a
sense.
comedy.
Yeah, that definitely was a comedy.
So it was more of the keeping the comedy part out of it. I just thought it was like some type of gangster, like hoodlum or something like that.
Wait, did you guys remember the scene at the Jezebel place with the big face and the hand?
Okay, I can't tell you. I had tears in my eyes when that hand was the tongue, and it was it was everywhere, and I was just like, ooh, it's gross, but it's so funny.
And it ended on her butt. But I was like,
she's just dancing, like acting like it's okay.
Hand champagne. Like, how was the tongue?
that was so funny. Like, I need to be that for Halloween.
No, yeah.
Right?
That would be
Some paper mache and a sock.
just start rubbing on people. Like,
What's wrong, Rhea?
Because Champagne said, I was trying to understand how the hand was doing that.
no,
I was trying to ignore her.
I'm sorry, how the tongue was doing that.
because mentally you gotta trick your. I mean, you gotta remind your brain.
No,
I'm
honey.
just like, why is it doing that? I thought it was a hand.
So-
why is it doing
I
that?
actually heard that, but I was gonna let it go.
It took you back to the other Wizard of Oz and waiting for that money to change in that oven.
Okay, so Champagne believed that the money could change.
And
And she believed that tongue was coming out of their mouth.
With the premise of the movie, it's like maybe it's some type of magic thing that they're doing. I'm
This
like,
magic is back.
Oh my god, that's
I
hilarious.
heard you say it. I was like, and we're gonna ignore that.
You hear me? I can't let it go.
Ray's face is like, wait a minute.
What's going on here?
I know it's a hand, but mentally it's just like, okay, it's all over her butt. Like, why? I'm like, oh, it's a hand.
That's what made it funny because it wasn't.
This is so funny to me. I was dying.
Cracking up.
All right, y'all ready to rate this?
I am.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I'll start. And I'm going to give it a half glass because I didn't like the adaptation. I like the movie, but I don't like it, even though it might be an adoption instead of an adaptation.
Correct.
There were just things that I wish they hadn't changed.
I would give it a sip.
Oh, okay.
You give it a sip, Rhea?
Okay.
You gonna elaborate or no?
No.
I mean, I love both of them, but to me, they really didn't have too much to do with each other.
Except for the character names.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why I was gonna give it a half glass was because I get where they were starting from and where they were going to, but they didn't really mesh that well. But I enjoyed both separately.
I give it a half glass also, and I was starting with a sip at first, but I do like that it turned out to be some type of a comedy. But because of all the changes,
With all the magic.
yeah, with all the magic and everything, the trickery. So yeah, half glass for me.
Okay, well, a rage Agent Harlem does not get a full bottle, but it really was a good movie and a good read, so we encourage you to check it out. Please check it
This
out.
book, Treva. I think that was a good pick.
Did I pick this book?
You did.
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks. You're welcome. All right.
You haven't really been challenged with like that type of change.
Okay.
So I think that this was a good book for us to evolve as a podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Great.
good pick.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. Listen to us on our next podcast, dropping every Wednesday. You should get a new one.
Follow us.
On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at We Watch Wine.
Where can you listen to us? Spotify.
Everywhere.
iTunes.
In your dreams.
Yeah.
And nightmares.
Oh, Lord.
Bye.
Bye.
That was good.